All right, good evening, everybody. It is 5:31. We're a minute late. Sorry about that. We'll call to order our Board of Aldermen pre-agenda meeting for the month of November. And with that, we will begin with an invocation. Father, we thank you for this glorious fall weather. We thank you for the gifts that you have placed upon us and upon our hearts, gifts of time, talents, and service within our community. We thank you for the town of Spencer, the citizens that we serve, and we thank you especially for the staff that works tirelessly each day to better serve our community. Be with us as we deliberate tonight and set the agenda for Tuesday's meeting. Grant us wisdom and discernment and good judgment for the betterment of our community. Amen. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's not often that we have a packed house for our pre-agenda meeting, so glad to see everybody. We have an important celebration tonight that we're going to do. We have members from Hilda Palmer's family here tonight with us for a very, very special event. We are going to be unveiling tonight a plaque within our boardroom as we are dedicating this boardroom in Hilda's memory and honor for the many years of service she gave to the great town of Spencer, and we are thrilled that her family is here to be able to celebrate with us this evening. Mr. Francis, anything you want to say starting off?
Well, just as somebody who's had the chance to follow in her footsteps, it is a special occasion, I'd say, and I do personally know some members of the family. Matt and I are old college buddies, so just kind of a neat coincidence that I wound up here serving in this community that his family is so connected to, and so I'm sure there are some board members that would like to say some things, and I know the family has some comments they'd like to make as well.
Absolutely. I want to especially recognize Hilda's daughter, Deb Crook, and her grandsons, Ben and Matt, as well. So it's great to have y'all here this evening. I would like to turn it over to some of our board members. I know many of you have some very fond memories of Miss Palmer and may want to share a few things.
I'll start.
I figured you would.
And I'll be brief, but Hilda was like a second mother to me, and my whole childhood is intertwined with the Palmers because they lived very close to me, and Deborah and I were very close friends. And I was talking to Deborah the other day. I didn't realize when I was in high school and even when I was in college, or probably even when I was in my early 20s after I was married, what a trailblazer Hilda was. I mean, I just thought everybody did that, but looking back, there weren't many women doing what Hilda was doing. And so as I got older, I learned to respect and love her even more. She was a wonderful person, warm, loving, and smart as a whip. And you didn't mess with Hilda or her tail. So I can't think of anyone who deserves this honor more.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other board members? Mr. Miller.
Okay. Hilda was very special to me. First of all, she was my neighbor. So I always respected her and T-Bone because they were very good neighbors. I always thought the world. I always tried to help them out, especially after T-Bone passed away. Hilda, that was great because from time to time, she needed help, and that's fine. But in my younger days, when I was a member of the Spencer JCs, me and Hilda used to tangle because we'd always be arguing about certain things, whether it's with the JCs trying to do something down at the ballpark. Hilda was pretty a tough person to deal with, but she's very fair, and I always gave her heck about it as far as that goes, but she was a fine person.
I find it hard to believe that you would tangle with anybody.
No, I think I backed out with her.
I'm not absolutely certain about this, but I believe I may have met Hilda one time through Business and Professional Women of Salisbury. I was involved with that back in the days when she would have been working here as a town manager, and I'm almost certain that she came around some of those organizations. So I have read about her history and her and her commitment to this town, and she is, like Patty said, a trailblazer and a woman of importance. Thank you for sharing her with us.
I only got the opportunity to briefly know Hilda when we moved back to this area, but I've heard lots and lots of stories. And what I'll say is the thing that has stood out to me during that time and through those stories, Spencer has a long history of very influential people, people that have helped to shape this town and make it what it is today, and that have left a long-lasting legacy within our great town. What I will say is when you start really diving into that list of people, though, there are a few names that really, really stand out. Names like Clyde Miller, names like Howard Everhart, and Buddy Geddes, and a whole litany of those. But the one woman that comes to mind that just really set Spencer on a trajectory that I feel like we're hopefully carrying forward today was Hilda Palmer. She definitely did love her town and worked tirelessly for the people in our town. And, I think it's just a testament to the type of leaders that our town raises up. And it's obvious that Hilda has raised up leaders within her family that have then gone on to other places and carried on her legacy. So we're thrilled to be able to honor her tonight. We're thrilled to be able to dedicate this boardroom in her memory and in her, maybe not memory, but more so in her honor for the wonderful contributions that she has made to Spencer over the course of her life, and the legacy that even after that she carries on. So with that, I would like to invite, I believe Matt has a few comments that he would like to make on behalf of the family.
Sorry. Y'all have given me the big head with all these kind words, just like y'all do. I just want to thank you all from my family and for dedicating this room in honor of my mother. She would be so proud, as I am. And I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate all the hard work y'all put into this. And you have made me a proud daughter. I didn't realize her job was so important until you all started talking. And she loved Spencer, and she loved the residents. And I think Spencer was her second family. Sometimes I got a little jealous of it. But that's okay. But I know one thing that she did not like in her job, and that was doing the budget. She had to do it by hand in pencil. And so she would work weeks on that at home. And I could always tell it was budget time because her personality did change quite a bit.
Can't believe it.
And again, I want to thank family and friends behind me that have come out tonight. It's been a wonderful surprise. And congratulations on your reelection. Okay, this is my youngest son. This is Matt.
Mayor and board, I just have a few kind of quick remarks that I put down. I'd like to just read off, and again, it's on behalf of our family. Today we gather to honor my beloved grandmother, a true pioneer, a dedicated public servant. To my knowledge, she's the first female town manager in our great state. We express our deep gratitude to the town staff, the elected officials for this wonderful gesture. This dedication is more than a plaque. It's a testament to the power of strong communities and dedicated leaders. Our communities are our foundations of our society, places where we grow, learn, work, and support each other. My grandmother's journey reflects that strength and support of the community. As a child visiting my grandparents, I saw their deep involvement in the community. Today, we celebrate her tenure as town manager and the countless lives that she touched. She showed the strong communities rely on collective efforts. In this boardroom that bears her name, we remember her legacy in the spirit of unity and progress for our communities. As we look to the future, let Spencer continue to follow this example. Let's strengthen our communities where dreams take root and flourish. In honoring her, we honor the idea that together we can make something remarkable. I thank the town staff and elected officials for this touching tribute and invite you all to celebrate the memory of a woman who dedicated her life to her family, her work, her town, and instilled the belief that strong communities are the backbone of our society. I'm very proud that that was instilled in my generation. I'm hopeful that we continue to instill that in generations to come. Thank you again.
Thank you. And I'd be happy to invite any other family members that want to say anything.
I would like to say, if for those of you who didn't know Hilda, when she was younger or on this earth, all you got to do is look at Deborah and listen to her. Just like Hilda's voice and mannerisms, everything, which is a big compliment. That's just like something your mom would say.
Well, thank you for those words, and we're thrilled to be able to celebrate this tonight. You know, if we could all aspire to be what Hilda was to the town of Spencer, we will have done great things with our lives. So she's definitely one to follow in her footsteps, and I would challenge everybody here to try and do that. Let's unveil a plaque. Does that sound good? All right. Y'all want to come over here? Those are here, isn't it? Yeah.
Did you stay? Did you stay? Did you stay?
You can do that. I think Peter might have some logistics too. I think Matt's aware of what to do. Okay. Yeah. There's one more. Might need to count down. We got a wonderful picture from Salisbury Coast Archives. What's not as easy to find as they sound like. And there's also a resolution here where we dedicated this room in honor and memory of Hilda. And so I encourage you to take an opportunity before you leave tonight to read that resolution. Where it honors many of the great accomplishments that she has had made for our town. We're thrilled that we're able to do this, and hope that we can dedicate many more spaces to leaders in our town. Thank you all for being here, and thanks for representing.
Yeah, we have to. I thank you.
Did I already give him his, did I already give him his, did you still give him his street already? Did I?
Is there a seat right up there? That's not it.
I'm looking for a bigger one. They're already there. Well, maybe he made it and then drank water. Those are some good
what you
No,
need.
that's not what, well, those are trees, but that's not what I was looking for. Because there's another one.
That was very nice.
Well, I guess
He probably, may have given it to him already.
that's coming back to the I'll take you up on that. Yeah, we want to call, we get a ring. Yeah, when this is good. I love that margarita.
Westwood may have gotten it out.
I was like, well, does Mr. Williams need his son back? You come get it. You're gonna put it up with mine,
I didn't even do anything.
We'll wait a couple minutes.
I'm gonna start signing checks.
I just reused the ones I had.
Well, that's what I could do. I don't put in yours, but all mine have been messed up there. I need to buy some more. Not really, I ain't running again.
All right, board, we're gonna move ahead with our agenda. So the next item of business, we have a public hearing this evening for the Carter House rezoning. This is for the Howard Carter House on 11th Street, right by the parking lot at the Standback Forest. This was a property that was previously owned by the Land Trust and through a generous donation was recently gifted over to the town of Spencer. And I will invite Mr. Blunt forward to give us a presentation to talk about this property and the reasons that this rezoning request is before you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I guess it was too much to hope that crowd was here to hear my presentation tonight.
Well, after seeing the agenda tonight, I am thinking we might need to rename, instead of the pre-agenda meeting, the Steve Blunt preview meeting.
You either get to listen to me now or listen to me later. So we'll get
It's
this
probably a
out
little of both.
a little bit.
Yeah.
As a precursor to tonight's public hearing, I will try to explain the Carter House rezoning. And we're calling it the Carter House. This is parcel 031-131, which is 401 11th Street. And we're suggesting a rezoning from RMST to Civic, CIV. The reason behind this is that this property has been, ownership of this property has been transferred to the town from the Land Trust so that we can make it a part of the Standback Forest. This property is located, as you see, next to the parking lot off 11th Street. And we'll start focusing in a little closer. You can see the house from the aerial view in the parking lot to the upper part of that slide. These are road views. It's a beautiful house, well maintained. We've toured it several times and started dreaming about all the uses that we could make of that house as a part of the park. You see in that lower right-hand picture the actual main sign for the park. So it's right across the street from this house. This is a map of the park itself, a master planning map showing the trails and showing you very clearly that this is an integral part of the park. And based on its location, we have always thought it would be a part of the park. The many uses, or some of the many uses, are listed here, but easier to understand is to actually see an example where this same type of thing, a house next to a park, was transformed into use by a community as a community activity center. This is Concord's David Phillips Activity Center. And you'll see the verbiage there of what it was meant to be used for. But even better than that are some pictures of what once was a house, but through some very smart planning was turned into an educational center, an event center, a training facility, and other uses. I think they teach yoga there. I've read through their website to see all the good stuff. So again, a house that's been transformed into a great use at very little cost to the town. So it is currently zoned RMST. For us to make use of it as a part of the park, we need to rezone it to CID, Civic, and it will become a part of the park as a sports facility. Those decisions will be made by this board as we move through the coming months and years. Mr. Francis may want to comment on the Concord Center.
Well, just for reference, yes, that was a very similar example where you had an older residential home in an established neighborhood that was able to turn into a municipal recreation facility. The uses there are more kind of not a heavy recreation center, but a light, what they call it, the Dave Phillips Activity Center. And so the primary uses are things like art classes. They have a full kitchen that they do cooking classes. Some of the exercise things like yoga, but you're not going to have basketball and those sorts of things happening in that kind of a facility. So I thought it was a neat comparison to just share here.
So tonight we're asking you to hold a public hearing on this issue of rezoning. We have done the proper notification, newspaper ads, mailings to adjacent property owners, and posted a sign on the property. You'll hold a public hearing tonight, and then you'll be asked to consider the rezoning at your Tuesday meeting. Any questions?
Questions from the board?
The bathroom facilities are there. Would they be open for public use or?
Everything's under consideration. If you were to use those for public bathrooms, they obviously would have to be renovated to some degree to be used in that capacity. They're functioning now, but just for a private resident.
But there is a restroom in the basement. So there's the potential that could be converted into multiple bathrooms. There'd have to be some work done, but there's the potential that could be converted so that you would have public access for school groups and things like that from the basement, from outside. So I think that's all in the next steps of planning programming for that facility and what it might be. But first step is the rezoning.
Right. You would need to be sure that you were watching out for any activity that shouldn't be there.
Yes, and there's actually security cameras installed. And I don't know if the new ones have gone out, but all of that is in process.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay. We will open the public hearing at this point. And the public hearing is to rezone parcel 031-131, the Carter House, which is located at 401 11th Street, from the residential Main Street, RMST, to civic use, CID. We do not have anyone signed up this evening. Have we received any written correspondence?
No, sir.
Okay. And since I received this list, is there anyone here tonight that wishes to speak for the public hearing? Okay. Hearing none, board, with the fact that we have received no correspondence, either written or here tonight, is there a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sledge. All in favor? All right. All opposed? And the public hearing is now closed. All right. We will move on. And at this point, I will invite Mr. Morris forward. He will receive a presentation on the final core Creating Outdoor Recreational Economies Strategic Plan.
Thank you, Mayor. We have been working with Jeff Emery, who is the Southwest Prosperity Zone planner with the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And Jeff has been sort of the driving force in terms of the creation of this plan from the state's perspective. He notified us yesterday that he has an illness of a communicable nature, and thought it would be wise not to come to the meeting, but he, in the email today, he hopes that he will be able to attend via Zoom on Tuesday for the adoption of the plan. So there's no action necessary tonight, and hopefully Jeff will be available through the magic of the internet to provide some wise words. We've been working on this plan for several months, and we actually began back in May. We put together a work group that had a very good representation of citizens of Spencer, and recreation professionals, and interested parties from outside the community. Two of the members of the work group are here tonight, Nikki Black and Ashley Duncan. They very gratefully came to all the meetings. They were here as much as they possibly could be and provided a lot of really good input into the plan.
So we should pause for a minute and say thank you very, very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your participation.
So as just additional information to that, Nikki has an outfitter company. She has Roco Outdoor Ventures, which is a canoe, kayak, paddling outfitter. And so she is actually participating in the recreation economy from sort of a private sector standpoint. And then Ashley works for the Rowan County Parks and Recreation Department. So she's participating from the public sector standpoint. And so we've tried to bring people like that to provide their perspectives to this plan. And so there's 74 recommendations, goals and objectives in the plan. I'm not going to read them all. I think the plan was shared by the town manager a little over a week ago. And so this document should have been in your email inbox at some point in time, and provides a very thorough analysis of outdoor recreation possibilities for the town of Spencer. The Carter House is an excellent example of that. And I have to take a little bit of a pause to mention that, isn't it amazing how many people are pulling for this town with these generous contributions to make these things happen? Talking about Fred Standback, Ronnie Smith, and other folks who are just doing things because they want Spencer to succeed in this particular endeavor. I was in a meeting yesterday talking about the North Carolina finishing plant site, and one of the consultants, we had not really had any conversation about this at all, zeroed in on outdoor recreation and tourism for Spencer as being a transformational economic engine for this community. And one of the things that she said that I had never really thought about, and it sort of avails itself on the cover of this plan, she said, if you think about an analogy of a shopping center, that the anchor tenant is the transportation museum. I never really thought about that way, but she was absolutely right. And so we're working to put together a variety of activities, services, experiences that take advantage of our anchor tenant. So Jeff was very kind to provide an executive summary. I think it's displayed on the screen here. But as I mentioned, there were several meetings. I'll give an exact number. There were 5 work group meetings beginning last May, and there were various discussions that went on. There was a survey of all the members of the work group. There was a mapping of our recreation assets that currently exist in the community. And it begins to tell this story about how, with some effort and probably a lot of money, but some amount of money, that we can bring all this together in a way that is truly beneficial to the community. And so the focus of the plan comes down to a work plan for Spencer to take as a sort of a roadmap going forward for how we will pursue outdoor recreation as an economic development strategy for this community. It focuses on infrastructure, specifically outdoor infrastructure, communication and activation, and then economic impacts to the community. And so this particular document is included in the plan. And so my goal tonight is not to go through this, bit by bit, but just provide this overview and mention to the board that we would be happy to go into any level of detail. I haven't sort of maybe speaking out of church a little bit. I think this would be a great topic for your board retreat planning session in the coming year. To have some of the conversations about what is in the plan and what it might mean to the community in terms of the fiscal impacts, budget planning, how the town might proceed. And so happy to answer any questions, but as I mentioned, we hope to have Jeff here on Tuesday night to be available as well. So is there anything I can provide to the board?
All right. Questions from the board at this point? All right. Mr. Morris, thank you for kind of being the town's liaison for this. We thank the Department of Commerce for helping steer this effort, and it's been a great thing. I will mention that, we were one of how many pilot
34.
programs, right,
34
throughout the state. So of the, 500 plus municipalities, one of 32 initial ones. So
that was in our meeting yesterday on the finishing plant site. One of our consultants said, the state has a really good program for creating outdoor recreation economies, and we were able to say, yes,
and here's the plan.
We're one of the 34 places that is already on that. So it's great. That's good.
Thanks to all of you.
Ladies, thank y'all again for participating and being a part of it. I'm excited to see us put it into action.
I know Sean Rush from East Spencer has been part of that group, and he's talked to me a few times about it and about the work that y'all are doing. So thank you all.
And I should very briefly add, it while it focuses on Spencer, it also focuses on regional partnerships, and we have participation from our colleagues in Davidson County, for example. Vivian Kuntz, who is a resident of Spencer, but she works for Salisbury Parks and Recreation. We had folks from the Transportation Museum, so the Yadkin Riverkeeper participated. We had lots of input from a lot of perspectives, and they were all supportive and excited about the potential for Spencer.
Thank you. All right. The next order of business is to consider adopting resolutions directing the town clerk to investigate annex petitions. And one is Resolution 23-22 for an Innispec annexation petition, and Resolution 23-23 for the new truck stop annexation petition. Mr. Blunt.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, I'm back.
Good. Welcome back. Imagine that.
Before I start with this, let me piggyback on Joe's presentation. And even before I say that, y'all are always generous with the compliments to your staff, and we certainly appreciate that. But it's probably time for us to thank you and congratulate you all on your election and re-election. And thank you for the support you give us to let us do these good things. As Joe mentioned, we were all in a meeting yesterday, and it was almost comical that one planning group was suggesting that we start another kind of plan that we had actually already finished, and we're ready to present that to you. And these are state level planning operations that are coming to Spencer and doing this kind of stuff. But if you stop and think about it a minute, the Standback Forest expansion, the core plan that you've just seen presented to you, creating outdoor recreation economies, the Yadkin River District planning process that we have underway right now that complements that so much, EB 5861, the urban greenway system that we're trying to make a reality, the North Salisbury Avenue rezoning study that we did, the North Carolina Finishing Company rezoning that will be coming to you shortly, the Salisbury Avenue or South Salisbury Avenue corridor study that we presented to you last month, the Salisbury Avenue restriping project that will start in the spring, the Yadkin River Trailhead Park, which is completed and now a masterpiece for people to come and enjoy I've got a to-do list on my table, and I keep thinking that I can mark stuff off, and I do. These things are basically marked off, but for some reason the list keeps growing, and it's because of you guys, and I appreciate that, and thank you for your support going forward. So tonight, I'm going to give you a master's level course on annexation, and while we're just asking you to do a few things for 2 of the annexations, you have 5 annexations in the pipeline right now. And we are working towards getting all those done, if not by the end of the year, at least close thereafter. The first one is the truck stop annexation, as I call it. It's on Longs Ferry Road. As some of you are aware, maybe all of you are aware, annexations come in different types. They're all voluntary nowadays. We don't do involuntary annexations. But there's voluntary, and you'll see tonight, this is private property that is contiguous to the municipal limits of the town. There is private property that is a satellite, which the Hawkinstown Road would be a satellite. It's not contiguous with the town. And there's also annexing property that the town already owns, which the property in Standback Forest is. So tonight we'll start with the truck stop. I'm going to show you all 5, although you're not really considering but 2 of them tonight. You'll actually be considering 3 of them on Tuesday, and then we'll try to get the other 2 up to speed in front of you for your December meeting. This is the property that's in question. It's on the south side of Longs Ferry Road. It's made up of 4 parcels that has been purchased by a group out of Raleigh to create the truck stop. It is a contiguous annexation. It's contiguous because the Johnson Development property across the street was annexed not too long ago by you. And therefore it connects back to property that was already in the municipal limits and makes it contiguous. That's what those little black lines are showing. Just for your informational purposes, doesn't have a lot to do with the annexation, but there is the proposed site plan for the truck stop. And that's Longs Ferry Road running top to bottom. So it's 90 degrees from what you were just looking at. What we look at as we consider these types of annexation, and y'all have done several of them so far, the ones you've done so far were industrial distribution type annexations where not any residential application was included, so you weren't really adding people to the town of Spencer. And without people, you weren't adding much expense. You're basically just adding property tax revenue, and that was a good thing. Everybody can be excited about that. These start to get a little more complicated because we have to consider what impact they have on the town's services. For the truck stop, there's a rough estimate of what the revenue would be, and it is very rough because I don't know what the total tax value of the property will be after it's developed. That's just an estimate of it. As far as sales tax revenue, sales tax is tied to heads. If we grow our population, we'll get more sales tax. In this case, there's no homes, so there's no sales tax increase. But keep in mind that we get a piece of the pie. And when we have a commercial growth like this, the pie gets bigger. So if we get our same percentage share of the pie and the pie grows bigger, we actually will get some more sales tax revenue out of this. So I can't calculate how much it will be because I don't know what the overall pie will grow to. I also don't know what each municipality's share of the pie will grow based on their population growth. Later in this presentation, you'll see we got to be up there pretty high as far as percentage of growth. The cost for the fire department, it's not going to require any immediate increase in capacity to our fire department. As you're aware, they're struggling with manpower issues, but that has nothing to do with this project. It has to do with just the difficulty in finding people to hire. Police department, have had a discussion with the police chief about this and the Hawkinstown Road developments. In his opinion, those 2 together, once they're completed, will actually require some increase in staffing for the police department. So we will have to start quantifying that and see how much it's going to cost. I don't think it will come anywhere near the revenue that we anticipate, but it will be a cost that the town will have to take care of during this budgeting process. This being a commercial operation, they will have dumpsters and they will pay for private collection, so it's no impact on our garbage collection. So all in all, the cost benefit analysis here tells you that the benefits will outweigh the cost, and therefore it's justified for you to consider this for annexation. Hawkins Meadows. This one, as you're aware, you did the rezoning not too long ago, so you know where it is. It's on the south side of Hawkinstown Road down to Grants Creek. This is proposed as a 141 unit townhome subdivision. This one is a satellite annexation. To your right there, the closest property to this thing, and I didn't realize it when I made this slide, is my backyard. Probably my neighbors might be a little bit closer, but in reality, I think I'm the closest person in Spencer to this development. As another complication to the annexation process, when a satellite annexation occurs, we have to look around and see how close this property is to other municipalities. And although it's in our ETJ, right across the creek to the south is Salisbury city limits. So they are actually closer to Salisbury than they are to Spencer. What that does is requires Salisbury to execute an ordinance saying it's okay for us to annex it. That's in process. That's being done as we speak. They're not objecting to it, and it is in our ETJ, so that won't be a holdup, but it's just one more step in the process we have to go through. Again, turn that one 90 degrees, and you will see the proposed townhome subdivision. I will tell you that I have received the engineering drawings. The preliminary site plan has been approved. The engineering drawings are coming in. That's the more technical, detailed review of the development. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. The first thing I saw, and it's almost comical, but you see the stormwater retention pond that backs up to several of the units on the right-hand side of that slide. When they get to the engineering phase, they start figuring out what the contours will be for the walls of that catchment bond. And this one backs right up to the back door of those townhomes. And I asked their engineer if we could not put in a retaining wall and make it a vertical and therefore give them some space behind those townhomes. Or the other option was to put in diving boards out the back door of each place so they could dive in. I don't know that he laughed at that joke, but they are going to have to do something. I won't approve it the way he's got it drawn down. So again, expenses versus revenues. This one does involve people. So we have a lot of people that will come in. The property tax revenues, you see the estimates there. This one is a little easier to estimate because we have some idea of what the per unit sales cost of the 141 units would be, and we know what our tax rate is, so we can calculate that out. The sales tax revenue is based on people and our current share of the tax revenue, the sales tax revenue. So again, this is just an estimate of how much our piece of the pie will grow based on this. Not just the pie itself. These people aren't selling any product, so they're not creating any sales tax, but we are creating more citizens of Spencer, so our piece of the pie will grow a little bit. But there are costs associated. Again, the fire department is no initial cost as far as additional equipment or manpower. The police department, I've told you, the truck stop and this one together will probably require the increase of 2 people to the police department with equipment. And in this case, we do have garbage pickup. These will be individual trash cans for each unit, which means we will have another route for trash pickup. It will not require an additional piece of equipment, but it will require another probably day of trash pickup and might require additional staffing. But as you can see, again, the yearly revenue will far outstrip the cost. So we feel this is an adequate justification for annexation. Standback Forest. This one is, again, voluntary annexation. We haven't done it, so we agree with the annexation. There's the piece of property. And nobody to date has figured out why this is not already a part of the town of Spencer. It's just a little angled piece from Grants Creek back into the existing part. Starts up at 7th Street, runs down again to my neighborhood. All that land around it is in Spencer's current municipal limits. So that makes it contiguous. It's contiguous annexation. That's how it fits into the existing standback forest. That yellow piece at the top is where this piece is. And the cost benefits analysis tells you, as you can imagine, it's tax-free, so we're not going to pay taxes to ourselves on that one, so there's no tax revenue. There's no people involved, so there's no sales tax increase. There's no fire department costs, police department costs, and no garbage pickup. The reason for the annexation is that there are certain rules and regulations that we can only enforce in the city limits of the town. And therefore, we want this to be a part of the town so that we can enforce those regulations. That's the overriding need to have this piece of land annexed. It's a part of our park, but surprisingly, there are certain things in that land that we can't enforce because it's outside of our municipal limits. Innospec. This is privately owned, voluntary, and not only will this piece be contiguous, but it's sort of like a row of dominoes falling over. It makes other pieces contiguous. So this is a 40-acre tract that Innospec bought about a year ago. Their existing plant is to the right of that. And that shows you with those little arrows how it makes a lot of stuff contiguous that right now is satellite. And that's a good thing. It's not, for some communities, it would be a great thing because some communities are limited to 10% of their land mass for satellite annexation. We're exempt from that requirement, but just by being contiguous, it makes the annexation process of this and other properties a little easier. That is a drawing of all of Innospec's property. The existing plant facility is to the upper right of that drawing. The new property is to the left of it. And then they have property that actually extends all the way down to Longsbury Road. We met with them not too long ago, and they continue to have support from their corporate offices to do more and more capital expansion. So this is a growing concern. Again, revenues versus expenses. This is not based really on that piece of land, but the smallest number they've given us as far as their capital expansion over the next couple of years is $25 million. We've heard numbers as high as $75 million. But using that smallest number tells you what your additional property tax revenue will be. No people again, no head count, but probably they do get taxed. And therefore, as they increase their production, the pie will grow, the sales tax pie grows. So all of us will get a little bigger piece of that. We're already providing police coverage to their existing facility. This is an undeveloped piece of property, so police cost is zero, and there's no residential lots, so garbage collection is zero. So again, the revenues far outweigh the expenses. And then the fifth one. This one came about as sort of a surprise that right in the middle of the North Carolina Finishing Company property, the 50 acres on the northwest side of the highway, there is a church, a Methodist church. And back when the Finishing Company's property was annexed into the town for a raceway project that never went through, for some odd reason, the church was not annexed with it. And we have actually had some police calls where our police officers who routinely drive through the area have reason to be concerned about what was going on at the church, but we can't operate there. That's the sheriff's department's property to worry about. And that's causing problems, and the current property owner understands the problems and agrees with the concept of annexation. He's working through some property ownership negotiations, questions at this point. Once they get through that, we'll move on this annexation. So again, there's the piece of property. There it is in a little closer view. And this is how it actually becomes a contiguous annexation. All those little arrows of all these other annexations connect this all the way to the church property. Expenses versus revenue, it will be taxed for property tax versus purposes, not a great deal of tax. That's the current tax value of the property. No people, No additional police costs, because again, our police are driving by and seeing things happen and calling the sheriff's department to come respond. And it's not residential, so no garbage collection. So those are the 5. If you're keeping score on all this, by my calculations in this past year and this year, when we get these done, we will have annexed 234 acres of land, which is a 12% increase in our municipal limits in 2 years. The residential development, including 41 single-family homes, and that grew by 7 this week. I issued 7 new single-family home permits this week alone. That plus the 141 townhome project is a 16% increase over 3 years in our population, about 537 people. I was thinking this morning in the shower that sometimes numbers don't have a great deal of real meaning to us. We think about the speed of light and how far it is to the sun and things of that nature, and they're big numbers. They don't mean much to us. So I thought, how could I make these numbers mean more to you? So I created this slide this morning. If Salisbury were to grow at these rates that I just gave you, 12% and 16%, it would be like annexing all of Spencer into the city of Salisbury. And it would be like growing by the population of Spencer and Granite Quarry. So when you look at it in those concepts, Salisbury is not that big a town, but if they annexed 12% growth in their landmass, they would be annexing an area as big as the core area of Spencer. That would be a huge increase. If that was happening, it would be front page news on the Charlotte Observer. The fact that we're doing it in little bitty pieces here and there doesn't quite make as much of a story, but that's the impact that this has had. And it's a good impact. With that, I think you're scheduled to have a public hearing tonight on 2 of these annexations. All of them, again, the public hearing process and the notification process is slightly different for each type of annexation. And that's why I went through the different types with you. So tonight you'll do 2 of them. On Tuesday, we'll handle 3 of them to get the paperwork process started.
So tonight, my understanding is that we will actually adopt the resolutions that direct the clerk.
That's correct, not public hearings.
To investigate the petitions, and then we will hold the public hearings. Actually, we'll set a date for the public hearings on Tuesday.
So what happens, and y'all have been through this once when I ask you to rush your way through it. This time I'm giving you 2 meetings to do it instead of making you do it all at 1 meeting. But you ask the clerk to investigate the petition. We've received petitions on these in the past. She investigates them to make sure they meet the requirements of the state statute. So you're authorizing her to do that. I will tell you she's already done that. So at your Tuesday meeting, hopefully she will report back to you that she has found them to be sufficient, and then we will be asking you to set the date of the public hearing. And it seems like there's something else we're doing. I've got an actual separate calendar to keep track of nothing but annexation stuff. And I should have brought that with me so I could get this right.
We've actually got the resolution with the intent to annex Standback Forest.
Yeah.
Since it is
that one doesn't require a sufficiency statement because we're doing it to ourselves. We're the ones that signed the papers. So on Tuesday, you'll have 3 things to think about, and then at your meetings in December, you'll actually do some adopting and annexation. And hopefully we'll be able to bring the preliminary steps of those other 2 annexations at those meetings. Don't know for sure on that yet. So I'll be glad to answer any questions. Sorry about being so long-winded. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, on the one for the Standback Forest, just out of curiosity, how did Spencer obtain the properties that are there that are town owned?
Joe waved a wand over it somehow or another, and it just magically poofed. No, Joe could probably tell the story better than I can, but back in the time of the creation, the original steps in creating Spencer Woods and Standback Forest.
Not real creation.
Yeah, well, not quite that far back. Okay. I know you don't. That would require a PowerPoint presentation of this. Let's not go there. But during that process, the Carter home was recognized as an important key element to the park. Some of the property at the rear of his property was needed for the trails itself. And during negotiations, I believe the land trust actually purchased the property and gave him a lifetime estate. So he got to live in the property until he moved out and wanted to relinquish that. Mm-hmm. He did relinquish his lifetime estate to the land trust. The land trust, I'm not sure how much I should go into telling the background story of the land trust part, but Mr. Stanback got involved to make sure that this property came to the town so that we could use it as part of the forest named in his family's honor. And therefore, the land trust transferred ownership. I won't say donated, they transferred ownership of the property to the town of Spencer.
Okay. But that's the Carter house, right?
The Carter
You're
house.
talking
I'm
about
talking about
the
the other
the
little
property
pieces.
we're planning to annex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Totally different, confusing story. That property was a part of the land that had been accumulated by the land trust using various funding resources, and most of it was purchased from Bell Realty at a contribution sale price. So they basically were contributing the land to the land trust. Land trust put their conservation easements on it, and then they donated it to the town. They donated a big part, and you'll remember a presentation I made not too long ago about a sewer easement that had to be worked out.
Right.
This is the piece that the sewer easement went across. Okay. And therefore it was a little bit delayed, and I had known all along that this would have to be annexed once we got ownership of it. We could have done it ahead of time, but it's a lot easier to do it once we own it. Just as a side note, another thing I'll be bringing to you is there's a road right-of-way that runs through here. The extension of Whitehead actually runs down through here from when this area was originally platted. I need y'all to close that right-of-way. So we'll be back to you in a month or so to ask you to do that.
Is that the property that they were looking at 16 townhomes on?
No, it runs next to it. And because it runs between property we own and property they own, when you close a right-of-way, they get half of the property, which is good for their development. It's good for us. That's where our 7th Street Trailhead project is going to be. Okay. So it's good for us too. They're still planning to work with us on that. So it's a lot of moving pieces.
Okay. All right. The other question on the Methodist Church down at the finishing company. Is that church not tax exempt?
It was private property owned by Finnegan and Murphy. Was that the name of the LLC?
Yes, it appears that property is no longer, if you look at the county records, it's no longer considered exempt. I think
and it was not exempt then. It was private property that was leased to a church.
I see.
So the private property owner still had to pay property taxes on it.
Okay, I see. Okay.
And I won't even get into the convoluted story of how it became a church and then stopped being a church, and the ownership questions between a now defunct North Carolina finishing company. Very complicated.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
You would consider those resolutions.
Very good. So, board, you have before you item 6 on our pre-agenda and that is resolution 23-2020 or 22 for NSPEC for the annexation petition, and resolution 22-23 for the truck stop annexation petition. And these are resolutions directing the town clerk to investigate these petitions and then report back to us on Tuesday night. So is there a motion from the board for both resolution 2322 and 2323 to direct the town clerk to begin this process? So moved. There is a motion by Mr. Muhammad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Howe. Any further discussion or questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, and that is approved.
I had one other question that I meant to ask Steve and I forgot it. How much land is there between Andrews Street and Long Theory? Is that truck stop going to come anywhere close to the property that's being developed on Andrews?
Remind me where Andrews Street is.
It's the one that comes off of, that used to be the
Oh,
old
the East
Union
Spencer
Church.
development, is that
Yeah,
what you're
mhm.
talking? Nowhere near it. Well, I say nowhere near it. Physically, this property starts at Longs Ferry Road and then drops off into a drainage at the rear.
Okay.
And then the drainage goes up to Andrews Street. So it's not, there's several pieces of property in between them. And the property at the bottom of the hill that's in the drainage is not developed yet, that was in flood area.
Okay, so they're not gonna be connected.
I think the Salisbury, Town Creek wastewater plant is in between, actually,
Yes.
separated.
Oh, okay.
So that's the waterway that's down there, Town Creek. Okay.
All right, board. The next thing we have is to consider adopting an agreement with Rowan County for new loan radios for fire and police departments.
I can give an introduction, and
Okay.
if our fire chief and sergeant, police sergeant want to chime in, then please do so. But this is something we found out about recently, where the county is preparing to do replacements on all of the radios that they own and provide to the various agencies around the county that use the system. And so the interest in having this considered tonight, if possible, is it is going to allow us to get some radios replaced, but also give us some additional radios that we are needing based on our increased police staffing compared to what we've had previously. The way Chief Fowler has described it is with the parade is coming up, and we actually have so many people that are going to be working at that they need to have radios that we don't have to do it. So, but this has been considered by the county at their meeting earlier this week. They had the same form agreement on their agenda for consideration, and it was approved. And so now each agency, after consideration, will be able to execute this radio replacement agreement that will benefit both fire and police departments.
That's great. I think we've heard about this for a while now, but it was
Yeah, and I think Chief Lannon's coming up. Yeah, this has been in the works for a while.
Mayor and Board, how are you this afternoon?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, so this is like the mythical uniform that we've heard about, but we don't think exists. Evidently, everything is here. I do know they were going to start with the jail. Spencer PD was going to be some of the first to get the new radios just due to the age of the current one. I know for us, it's going to be a one-for-one swap. So all of our old ones they're taking, they're giving us new ones, both handheld and the mobiles that are in the apparatus, saving us about $350,000. That's what that cost would be for us. So we're responsible, obviously, for maintenance, upkeep. If we damage them, we fix them. Accessories, clips, mics, whatever we may need. Obviously, falls just on us on a budget level, but it's great that the county's doing that. Which, I mean, similar to what we've already got. Obviously, our radio system and radios are owned by the county. So, any questions?
And again, I think the importance is it standardizes communications devices across the county.
Yes.
Is this associated with this information we have from Axion Enterprises in the packet? Is that part of that?
That would not be tied to the radios. That would, yeah.
Those are body
Okay.
cameras.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, again, great news. Glad this agreement is finally here and that the radios are ready to roll out.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Board, is there a motion to adopt the agreement with county for these radios?
Move to adopt the resolution. Is it a resolution?
No, it's just it's an agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to adopt the agreement with the town for radio equipment.
Thank you. There's a motion by Ms. Sledge. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? And that is approved. Thank you all. All right, next thing we will do is review our agenda that's proposed for next Tuesday's regular meeting. And again, as we get through this, if there is anything that we want to add to the consent agenda, please let us know. We can collectively decide on that and add those items to the consent agenda. So I do need a volunteer for the invocation on Tuesday. Is there somebody willing to do that? Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. All right. We have a few recognitions. Mayor Pro Tem has her Students of the Quarter that she plans to recognize from the elementary and the high school. And then I believe Sky will be providing a recognition for our trunk or treat event. Are there other recognitions from the board or staff that need to be voted?
I think we need to say something about Joel's department and how nice the city sounds with all the Christmas decorations. It really looks nice, and it went up so quick. I was amazed.
So Mayor Pro Tem, we will add that to your recognitions. Any others? Okay. And we'll move then to public comment, and then we'll have our consent agenda. Right now, we're proposing that the minutes for our 2 October meetings be added to the consent agenda. Is that acceptable? Okay. And again, just let us know if there's other things that we want to add to that. Item 8 will be to consider adopting the core strategic plan. Again, Mr. Emery hopefully will be joining us by Zoom, so we'll reserve that as a regular agenda item. And then we will have the rezoning for the Carter House that we will approve. Again, I recommend that that stay, obviously, as a regular agenda item. And then Anna will present us with the certificates of sufficiency for the 2 annexations that we talked about tonight. And then we'll also have resolutions to set public hearing dates for those 2 annexations. So all that has to follow in that order, so those will be part of the regular agenda. The next item will be Resolution 2326, and that's the intent to annex Standback Forest. Point of order, is that something that can actually be added to the consent agenda? I would think so. I would suggest if it is that we do that. Okay. Okay. Everybody's good with that. The next item is to consider adopting a budget ordinance amendment 23-14 for appropriation of insurance payment funds received for the wrecked police vehicle to fund other police vehicle maintenance. Anything you want to say on that tonight? Because that could, as I see it, could be a consent agenda item.
Yeah, this is an item related to about less than $4,000 of an insurance payment that was received due to a police vehicle that needed to be repaired.
Didn't it say that the amount we received covered the cost of repair for it?
Yes.
So then why do we need to say to fund other police vehicle maintenance?
I think, well, because it would allow that this would increase our maintenance budget to cover the repairs we made so that the maintenance budget we already had could be used for the regular maintenance we would anticipate.
We have to officially recognize that money into the budget.
Okay.
So with that, is that okay to add to the consent agenda? Okay, we'll add that. The next item is to adopt budget ordinance amendment 23-14.007 for donations to support the 8th Street Ballpark. What's your preference on this one? Yes.
It may be good if Heather and or Joe explain this one briefly. This is somewhat of a procedural item, cleaning up some of the prior year donations and such that we were facilitating for the Friends of the Ballpark group. Well, if you could, and then they could decide whether.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, this ordinance is for the $1,600 is basically the remainder of donations that were made in FY23, and we have one bill that needs to be paid out of that, and then the remainder of that we're just going to give that to the ballpark or to for them, and they said it just cleans up everything that we have outstanding. between the ballpark and the donations and some of the repairs stuff that we did. So that's what that is.
Again,
Does that make sense?
It does. Again, board, we were acting as the fiduciary agent for those donations that were coming in for the Friends of 8th Street Ballpark when they were doing the renovations. So again, it is a procedural thing. It would be something that we add to the consent agenda.
So it's not new money.
No,
Okay,
it's not
yeah,
new money.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the next item is ordinance 23-21. It's a temporary road closure for Highway 29. That's for the upcoming holiday parade. And so again, I would suggest that we add that to the consent agenda.
Do we need to have the public know about it?
Well, we do that. We publish it on social media and all of that. I think this is a procedural formality, but as far as notifying people of when the road closes and everything like that, that'll be done through the website, social media, all of those things. And paper, of course, will run that as well. Okay, so we'll add that to the consent agenda. We will then receive our departmental reports and our town manager report. Is there anything else that needs to be added to the agenda for Tuesday? Okay. Hearing none, then our agenda for next Tuesday is set. Is there a need tonight to go into executive session for any reason? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn for the evening?
Well, what is this actually on? It's in a
I think we'll hear about that on Tuesday, won't we?
I'm happy to
Go
give
ahead.
a short.
Yeah.
So what this is, and I asked Chief Fowler to add this to his police department report. It's an opportunity we have to do a in-car camera replacement program. And so yes, the idea would be for him to explain this to you on Tuesday. There's not any current action that we're going to ask of you, other than there's some future year considerations we want to share with you. And so that's what that's about.
okay. There's no explanation about it, so I didn't.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Muhammad. Is there a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right. All opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all.